Hello, everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Daily, presented to you by FanArch. I'm your host, Kirk MckNight, author of The Voices of Hockey, Broadcasters Reflect on the Fastest Game on Earth, and coming to you from the southwest corner of Washington State, 2,454 miles from Little Caesars Arena. The Red Wings were back in action for the first time in 22 days last night, taking on the Ottawa Senators at the Canadian Tire Center up in Ottawa, and they won 2-1 in overtime. This was the 11th win for the Red Wings past minute 60. As opposed to 6 overtime shootout losses, they've got 11 wins. That is great, taking those 2 instead of the 1, and having the ratio be more on the side of on the wins instead of on the shootout and overtime losses. So talking about the game, Gibby, to me, it's a toss-up to see who's the player of the night, because obviously Larkin had both of the goals, including the game winner, his 4th game-winning goal of the season, tying him for the league lead with Kaprizov and what was his name? Caulfield, that's right. 4 overtime goals for Larks. DeBrincat's at 2, and Larks is at 28 goals on the season, so he's catching up a little bit with DeBrincat, who hasn't really had any goals in the last few games. But yeah, Gibby is the other one that I will say star of the night. 26 saves on 27 shots. The only shot he let go by was kind of like a freakish thing, because there was a shot from the point that didn't go on through, so he didn't see the puck get to him. What happened was, I think it came off of a block up there in front a little bit, and it got right to Brady Tkachuk. This was on the power play, and Tkachuk fired one before Gibby even realized that the puck had gone back to him. So it was a pretty understandable mistake. There we go. So before that, I will mention the fact that Big Rass was on a shot, made a goal, but it got called back for offsides. The eye in the sky got it on that one. So 1-0, eye in the sky, basically, taking the one off the board. And then Tkachuk getting that goal, that power play goal. So that basically became a 2-goal swing. Did not deter the Red Wings, though. About 5 minutes into the second period is when Lark scored the first of his 2 goals on assist by Raymond and Sider. And there we go. So that was number 27 on the year. No more scoring for the rest of regulation, and about a minute and a half on a sweet little saucer slide there by Raymond. Larks was able to get ahead of the pack a little bit and have the outstretched stick, and it basically became him versus a goaltender. Goaltender loses. So Larkin with his 28th. Like I already said, his 4th game winner of the season. Red Wings were 1-2 on the power play. They were 1-2 on the penalty kill. And I already mentioned that was the 11th overtime win. But here's the more important thing. The Red Wings are 7-0 this season against the Ontarians. They're 4-0 against Toronto, and they're 3-0 against Ottawa. So they only have one more game against Ottawa. That's March 24th, to see if they can have an 8-0 clean sweep of Ontario. Wouldn't that be something? Both teams in their division. That's obviously helping to their record versus the division. But yeah, 7-0 versus Ontarian teams. Way to go. Now that leaves 2 more games on the road trip, the first of which will be tomorrow against Carolina. Obviously, Carolina at 80 points, 80 team points. They are first in the Metropolitan. This is the rubber match between the Red Wings and the Hurricanes. The first one went Carolina's way. I think it was a 5-2 win. I think it was one of those games where the Red Wings let 2 quick goals happen and kind of took them off their edge, or took them off their game, and then I think an empty netter basically sealed it. And then the second game was at Little Caesars Arena. This was the night that they retired Fedorov's jersey, and so this long, exhausting ceremony. Well, I shouldn't say that, sounds negative, but yeah, really long pregame ceremony. Then we got a game to play, and a game that goes beyond the 60 minutes, and that was the time when Kopp got the game-winning goal, and the Red Wings won 4-3. It was a goal that was contested, by the way. Anyway, so this is the rubber match. Looking at the 2 teams on basically on paper, the Hurricanes are on a 4-game winning streak, and they're 22-8-2 at home. The Red Wings now are 16-9-4 on the road. They're 2-1 on this road trip. Like I said, they have Carolina tomorrow, and then on Monday they got Nashville, and that'll wrap up the road trip, the 5-game road trip. The advantage, looking at it, the advantage goals-wise goes to Carolina. Power play goes to Detroit. Goals allowed goes to Carolina. Injury-wise, there's only one injury for both teams. It looks like Eds must be back off the IR because he's not listed on the injured list for the Red Wings. But Kochetkov is on the IR with a hip injury for Carolina. So they're a pretty healthy team too. Obviously, they're doing great and they're healthy, and so they're taking advantage. The goaltender matchup is the one that has me because Bussy for Carolina, he's 23-3-1, and it's going to be Gibby in the crease for the Red Wings. He's at 22-12-2 on the season, and I already said 80 points for the Hurricanes. There's 37-15-6 on the season. It's going to be a tough one, folks. But let's see what game the Red Wings bring to it. Maybe sometimes after a game like this where they only really aren't scoring that much, sometimes they have a little bit of an offensive explosion and take the team out of their stance pretty quick and have them playing on their heels. We'll see if that happens or not. But it is going to be a tough one regardless. So switching gears just a little bit, going away from the Red Wings for just one segment before we return to it. I mentioned in yesterday's show the fact that the night before when the Ducks beat the Oilers, the Ducks beat the Kings, I believe it was. Not sure. No, the Golden Knights beat the Kings. Ducks beat the Oilers. That was Joel Quenneville's 1,000th win. He is only the second coach in NHL history to have 1,000 wins. And we all know, obviously, if there's a coach that has more wins, it's got to be Scotty. That's right. Scotty Bowman was the first to get to 1,000 wins, and no other coach had done it. And, Scotty's been retired for 24 seasons now. So Joel Quenneville being only the second coach in NHL history to get the 1,000 wins. Now let's look over those wins, though. Not win by win, don't worry. But he started his career in St. Louis. He had 307 wins for St. Louis. They started there about 96, 97, around there. And then he went over to Colorado for a few seasons, got 131 wins there. And then what everybody knows and remembers about Joel Quenneville is being the bench coach for that Chicago Blackhawk dynasty of Patrick Kane, Duncan Keith, Corey Crawford, and I know that there's another name, Jonathan Toews, obviously. So all these players, they were there. He was their coach, a team that was very impressive, and he won 452 games as a coach during that time there with Chicago. Then he went over to coach in Florida. He got 79 wins in Florida. Now, not delving into it because I don't want to create some political discussion behind this. There's too much politics on social media right now and trying to throw things around with the NHL. But as a matter of cleaning house and everything like that, Joel Quenneville was already removed from coaching for Chicago. He was already in Florida and all that. But the crap came down, and Joel, obviously, unfortunately, basically was part of that cleaning house situation after all the allegations and the convictions and everything like that in Chicago. So he basically wasn't coaching for 3 years. They brought him back to coach. He basically got hired on to be the bench coach for Anaheim. Anaheim is having a turnaround season right now and are effective and are relevant. They're basically in the playoff chase right now, and he's had 31 wins for them. So getting him as a bench coach and then getting Jacob Trouba over to their team and to help out with the defense. And then one of the other things that's big for Anaheim this year is these newbies, these rookies are just killing it. And they got a promising future over there in Anaheim. If Joel can stay there and keep going, don't be surprised if you start to see Anaheim, in the deeper runs on the Western Conference side of it. So congratulations to you, Joel Quenneville, for your 1,000th victory. Wrapping up the show before we go off for the weekend, folks, I just wanted to give a little bit of spotlight. I think this is the 4th time that I'm doing the spotlight on Lucas Raymond. You can see him right there behind me on a bobblehead that's on top of a Funko Pop of Patrick Kane. There's a reason that everybody loves Raymond. He's just, 5 seasons into his career, basically. You would think that he was 10 seasons in. You would think that he's ready right now to take that C patch and throw it on because just he is lightning. I don't want to say lightning in the bottle because he's just always scoring. It's like it's not instant and all of a sudden and not like, where did this come from? Like, we all know where it comes from. he's just always there scoring. He's leading the team in points. He's got 62. There's 2 helpers last night basically extended his lead over DeBrincat for 62. Basically, I think DeBrincat's still at 57 points. But looking at Lucas with the lid off, I like to reference that pop song, but in his last 10 games, he's got 5 goals and 5 assists. This is what I feel is even more important because he's been such a solid road warrior for the team. In the last 10 road games, 6 goals, 6 assists. And the Red Wings in their last 10 games on the road, over that, 6-2-2. So these are the kinds of things that will add up throughout the season as we run down, getting some of these road victories, especially when we have those surprising home losses. We've had a couple already, and we've had a few actually, but getting some of these road victories to kind of make up for that, replacing our own divots, if you will, those are the kinds of things that will propel us to getting into the playoffs. And Lucas, offensively, doing it great and doing it well and helping out, and just always so glad to have him on the team. And it's just hard for me. I have to do a double take when I look at his hockey reference sheet and see only 5 rows of cells representing the years. I mean, he's only in his 5th season as a player, and he's just killing it. And he's got proven experience. Like I said, he had 8 assists in the Olympic break or over the Olympic competitions, 8 assists and a goal. He was 3rd in scoring, only to Macklin Celebrini and Connor McDavid. So that's pretty good company to be in. And he didn't even play. I think basically those two played an extra 2 games than he did because they didn't even make to the consolation game there with Sweden. So a shorter pool to work with, but still managed 9 points. I'm glad he's continuing factoring on points back from the break, and hopefully that continues. Folks, this has been Red Wings Daily. On Monday, we'll recap the Carolina game. We'll have a little bit of a preview for the Nashville game. I believe it's an early one on Monday, so it'll happen not too long after the show airs. But in the meantime, LGRW from the PNW.